Hello everybody and welcome back to our channel. Today we'll be reviewing the Hidalgo dining table. Here you see it as a round table, but it has an astounding variety in terms of shape, measures, materials. Let's dive in. Hidalgo is actually a family of furniture items because here you see the table, but you also have the desk version and you also have the coffee table version. So we said lots of shapes. We have the rectangular version, the barrel-shaped version, and the round version. In the rectangular version, you also have the extending versions, so you can have fixed tables and extending tables. We also said we have loads of materials, and so we start from glass. You can have transparent glass, painted glass, or emerald glass. You can have wood, and here you see an example of how the wood table would be perceived. More about it later. Then we have ceramics, then we have marble, and take into consideration that the actual thickness of the tabletop varies depending on the material that you choose. And here we get to the version that we are reviewing today, which is a mix between wood on the perimeter and marble in the middle. This is particular in the sense that, first of all, you have this lazy Susan option in the middle. The lazy Susan is a concept which is much used in Asia. It's also not only practical for sharing a dinner, a meal with guests, but also in a numerous family. It also depends on the type of food that you consume. For example, in Eastern cultures, food is more about sharing multiple dishes rather than having your own plate in front of you. And this is the point. So basically you can move certain items instead of asking, oh, could you pass me the salt? What you do is you simply turn the lazy Susan, and this is very practical. And actually it's, you could have a round table and buy a separate lazy Susan and put it on top, but of course it would change the design of the table. In this case, it's perfectly integrated. And I can also add a technical aspect about this sort of setting that have been described is available on the 160 round table. This is what the 180 round table, and I'll tell you how it is built, because with 180 it's not only practical, beautiful to look at, but it also has a technical reason behind it, because you cannot build a round table with a single piece of veneer, with a 160 or 180 diameter for technical reasons. So you would need to do some sort of inserts, some sort of decorations. And in this case, not only for practical reasons, but also for technical reasons of transporting the pieces. So basically you have 3 parts, wooden parts. Each one of these covers at 120 degrees, so you have 120, 120, and 120, and so you build the circle. You have this beautiful black nickel detail that creates the joint among the different parts of the perimeter, and you have the marble lazy Susan, and of course you can customize the finishes. And this is not only beautiful, as we were saying, but it's also meant to transform what would be a technical requirement into something nice to look at and which gives you personality. So the wooden tabletop is 3.5 centimeters thick, and not only it is rounded, of course, but it is carved in this direction, so you perceive it as being thinner than it actually is. You perceive its thickness once you move away from the table, and looking underneath it, we can see the metal structure that supports the tabletop. Of course, you would not perceive it unless you lean down, and we see the supporting element. It is a cylinder with a 53 centimeters diameter, and it is metal with the powder paint. Very reliable. It's available in 8 colors, and there's also a 2 colors version which allows you to have 2 colors on the supporting elements, and in this case you get 3 combinations. My suggestion is that in such a situation where you have multiple materials, well, 2 materials, except for the tiny metal detail, 2 materials on the tabletop, as we did here in the showroom in Brianza, I suggest to have a single color on the base. If you have, for example, a tabletop in a single material, it can be nice to have two colors on the base itself. So we get to understand the feel of a user sitting at the table. We said that the supporting column is 53 centimeters diameter. You have much leg space for any user around the round table. And the Lazy Susan in this 180 centimeters version is 1 meter. And so it means that this fixed part is 40 centimeters deep. And I can tell you that with 40 centimeters, well, I have all the needed space for my cups, my glasses, my cutlery and my plate. And so I can imagine being very comfortable in having dinner or my lunch, my Sunday lunch on such a table. This very table that you see here, you see it with the dark brown ashwood finish. Here you see travertine. I love travertine. They used to say that the Romans built Rome using travertine. And you have a total of 4 matte ceramics like this, or 7 glossy ceramics. I really love the feel. It is indeed ceramic. It's actually supported by glass underneath, which is normal for ceramics. But the touch and feel is very, very natural. I feel it as being natural marble. It's really beautiful in terms of, I can perceive that it's not marble just from its sound. Otherwise, in terms of looks and touch, I could not distinguish it. So we've come to the end of today's product review about the Hidalgo dining table here in a beautiful round version. I hope that you like it and see you next time.